You're lying beside a fire. The flames have dropped low enough that the dark starts creeping back toward camp. Then, for half a second, you see 2 points of light beyond the glow. Eyes. Then they are gone. And somehow, you're still supposed to sleep. That is the weird part. Sleep makes a human almost useless in a fight. You're slower to react, barely aware of what's around you, and for hours at a time your body is doing the exact opposite of staying alert. So how did ancient humans get away with doing that every night in places shared with big cats, hyenas, snakes, insects, and plenty of other things that were awake when they weren't? The short answer is, they probably didn't trust one thing to protect them. They stacked the odds. Fire helped. Sleeping together helped. Where they slept mattered. And natural differences in when people fell asleep may have meant a camp was rarely completely quiet. None of those was a force field. Together, they were better than nothing. Start with the obvious one, fire. Humans were using controlled fire very early in our evolutionary history. At Wonderwerk Cave in South Africa, archaeologists found burned bone and ash in deposits roughly 1 million years old, deep enough inside the cave that a natural wildfire is a poor explanation. Fire changed the night. It gave light. It gave heat. It gave smoke. It made humans more visible to one another and, probably, less attractive to at least some animals looking for an easy target. But fire was not a magical predator wall. Fuel runs out. Rain happens. Wind happens. Coals fade. And an animal willing to wait does not need to walk directly through the flames. It can stay outside the light and see what happens next. So fire helps. It does not solve sleep. Then a modern Hadza study found something odd. Sleep researchers David Sampson, Alyssa Crittenden, and colleagues tracked people in a Hadza camp in Tanzania across 20 days. People did not all fall asleep together. Some slept earlier, some later, some woke during the night, some were up before everyone else. When the researchers combined those sleep patterns, they found that the entire group was recorded as asleep at the same time for only about 18 minutes across the whole observation period. 18 minutes. That's it. For almost the entire night, somebody was awake or in light sleep. Nobody had assigned them a shift. There was no little prehistoric clipboard saying, "Your turn, 2 to 4 o'clock." The pattern emerged from ordinary differences in sleep timing. The researchers call this idea the sentinel hypothesis. Variation in sleep schedules may have helped groups maintain some level of vigilance without forcing one person to stay awake all night. That is a fascinating clue. It is not proof that every Paleolithic camp worked this way. The Hadza are modern people, not frozen copies of the Stone Age. And being awake is not the same thing as actively standing guard with a spear. Still, the pattern solves one part of the problem surprisingly well. A group does not need everyone alert. It just needs to avoid everyone becoming completely unavailable at exactly the same time. But even that is not enough, because an awake person is only useful if the camp itself is not a terrible place to sleep. Ancient humans also changed the sleeping environment. At Sibudu Cave in South Africa, archaeologist Lynn Wadley and colleagues found evidence of plant bedding dating back roughly 7 to 7,000 years. People were not just dropping onto bare ground. They were laying down layers of plant material. Some of the leaves came from plants known today to contain insect-repelling compounds. Later layers at the site show repeated burning of old bedding, probably part of clearing out insects, parasites, and accumulated debris. That is not luxury. That is maintenance. And there is even older evidence elsewhere. At Border Cave, also in South Africa, researchers have identified grass bedding going back roughly 200,000 years. So long before mattresses, humans were already modifying where they slept. That matters because predators were not the only nighttime problem. Biting insects matter. Parasites matter. Cold ground matters. Wet ground matters. Smoke matters. Visibility matters. A sleeping place was part of the defense. And then there's the simplest protection of all, other humans. Sleeping alone in an exposed landscape is one problem. Sleeping in a group beside a fire is another. More eyes, more ears, more movement, more noise if something goes wrong, more people to wake. Even if nobody is officially on watch, one person rolling over, coughing, feeding the fire, checking a child, or getting up to urinate makes a camp less like a pile of completely unconscious animals. Human sleep is social in a way we often forget. Today, you can lock a bedroom door, close the curtains, turn on an alarm system, and disappear into sleep inside a box built to keep the outside world out. For most of human history, the group was part of the box. That changes how the night works. And it also changes how we should think about the Hadza finding. Maybe the important thing was not a perfect sentinel standing heroically at the edge of camp. Maybe vigilance was messier than that. One person sleeps lightly. Someone else wakes early. A child fusses. A fire gets adjusted. Another person stays up talking longer than everyone else. Nobody controls the whole system. The camp just never becomes perfectly still for very long. That is a much more believable kind of protection. Not perfect, just annoying enough for danger to notice. And ancient humans still got attacked. That needs to stay in the story. People were killed by predators. People were bitten. People died from things that came out at night. Evolution does not require a defense system to odds enough to matter. Fire that discourages some animals is better than darkness. A group is better than one person. A familiar sleeping site is better than random ground. Plant bedding that reduces insects is better than bare dirt. And a camp where someone is often awake may be better than one where every person sleeps on the same schedule. Stack enough small advantages and the night becomes survivable. Not safe. Survivable. That difference matters. Now think about night owls and early birds. The modern temptation is to turn the sentinel hypothesis into a cute explanation for everybody's sleep habits. You're awake at 1 a.m.? Ancient God. You wake at 5? Ancient God. Can't sleep? Ancient God. That's too neat. Modern sleep timing comes from a complicated mix of biology, age, light exposure, work schedules, habits, environment, and individual differences. The Hadza study does not prove your late bedtime exists because your ancestors needed night security. But it does show something interesting. Variation itself can be useful. A group in which everybody has the exact same sleep schedule creates one long shared blind spot. A group with naturally staggered sleep creates fewer of them. That may be one reason human sleep never needed to become perfectly synchronized. And now the fire at the beginning looks different. Those eyes are still outside the light. The animal is still faster than you. The night is still dangerous. But you're not lying there alone. There are people beside you. Someone fed the fire an hour ago. Someone else will wake before dawn. The ground beneath you has been chosen and prepared. The group has slept here before. Maybe one person is still awake. Maybe they're not keeping watch at all. Maybe they're just the kind of person who hasn't fallen asleep yet. Ancient humans did not sleep because the night was safe. They slept because groups made an unsafe night safer. Fire helped. Shelter helped. Bedding helped. Other people helped. And natural differences in when those people slept may have helped too. No single trick kept humans alive. The protection was laid, imperfect, and very human. Nobody had to stay awake all night. The group just had to avoid disappearing into sleep all at once.